Well, hello everyone and welcome back to another video, the F1 Driver Career Mode with Williams, episode number 13 today for the Hungarian Grand Prix of Season 1. If you missed the previous episode uploaded last Thursday, I recommend go and check that out. Of course, subscribing to the channel, see plenty more F1 Driver Career Mode episodes. But coming into this one then, R&D wise, you know, we're still the slowest team on the grid. Aero is pretty much can't do anything with it. We've got to wait for this drag reduction upgrade. Sashi side of stuff, there's a tyre wear upgrade, there's a fueled tank, but the one I'm more interested in is ERS, because as you know, they still haven't fixed, even the new patch released today, they still haven't fixed the AI being monstrous in a straight line, and we're going to need that, especially, and that's going to nicely come in for the Italian Grand Prix as well. We're also going to put on, spend the rest of it on a minor MGUK upgrade for the durability, just to help that out, help with the wear, although they are looking at that. Although I think there's something with the patch anyway as well, looking at wear, but yes. For us, R&D wise, Alpine, you know, that midfield battle between themselves, Alfa Romeo, McLaren and Haas, you know, Alpine have taken the initiative right behind Alfa Romeo now. Red Bull have moved slightly closer to Ferrari, but of course this is pre-patch because there are performance updates coming, which will be in next week's episodes. As well, but yes, moving to qualifying then, Hungary. I'm not going to lie, it's a track that I haven't had much joy over the years. It used to be a very good track for me.
Alright, get ready to jump out if you get too hot in there. There's a problem with the cooling system and it's going to take us a few minutes to correct it.
Yeah, another failure. I mean, it's just... I've lost count of how many failures we've had just at the start of qualifying now. It's like every other episode we're getting one of them. As well, and there's nothing I can do, it's just a random failure for that. But anyway, as I was saying, Hungary used to be a good track, hasn't been of recently. Sector 1 used to be very good for me, but Sector 2 has been horrific on previous games. So we'll have to wait and see. We're down to P17, we were P16 I think before we started. People started there. We've got McLaren behind us, we're just going to ignore him, as well as we move into the middle sector now. As well, obviously have they replaced the gravel there? There used to be gravel on one of those, that sharp chicane there, as we come through into the final sector now, almost into the final sector as well. That corner's always been horrific on the game. We're actually 4 tenths up on Albon as well, although I'm sure Albon may be improving, I don't know. Into the final corners, don't touch that inside curb, otherwise you will lose time. As well, and we'll try not to do a science from last year, I think it was it last year, goodness grief, where he went off and qualified and up to the line, and it's a 1:17.8, which is actually enough for P12, so I don't know where that late pace has come from, but it seems that we do actually have some quite decent pace around here. Only 9 tenths behind Sainz himself on pole position, ahead of Leclerc and Perez. Verstappen only P5 and not able to redirect anything. Albon bottom, but I'm not entirely sure if he did a second run or not. So yes, there's some chance of some points for us as Hungary for once. So we'll see what we can do for the Hungarian Grand Prix. It's time for the race.
Welcome to Budapest once again for another round of Formula One action. Historically a good race for first victories, with Button, Hill, Alonso and Heikki Kovalainen all reaching the top step of the podium for the first time here. Located 12 miles northeast of the Hungarian capital Budapest, the 14 corners of the Hungaroring are steeped in history and prestige. Overtaking has always been difficult on this technical 2.7 mile track, but the last few years in particular have turned up some exceptional races. So let's hope we're in for another one here today. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. An immense lap from Carlos Sainz yesterday puts him in pole position, and it's Charles Leclerc in P2. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Perez, Hamilton, Max Verstappen and Russell, Bottas, Fernando Alonso, Norris and Daniel Ricciardo, Ocon, Phoenix, Kevin Magnussen and Vettel, Gasly, Tsunoda, Mick Schumacher and Guan Yu Zhou, Stroll and Alex Albon picks up the last spot on the grid. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today? With me today, of course, is Natalie Pinkham. Let's start with the new Alfa Romeo driver. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
Well, the atmosphere within the team seems very positive at the moment. Everyone seems like they're in great spirits and having a lot of fun doing what they do. And that has definitely contributed to the performances we've seen.
After the points finished last race, let's aim to keep that momentum going.
That's the plan, Mark. Our race strategy is going to be a one-stop. Looked at the comparison. Medium to soft is slower, so we'll be going soft to medium. That's where we get the better start as well. Although, to be fair, the AI will get us off the start. We'll have to wait and see what it's like on the new patch next week, whether or not it has improved. So, 5 foot lights then to the Hungarian Grand Prix from 12th on the grid, and after a long hold, away we go. Notice we've got a lot of fuel as well. There seems to be a bug with the fuel just draining out of the car at Hungary, so that's something to watch out if you haven't got to Hungary so far. Down the inside of a couple of cars here, I think that's Ricciardo, he's going backwards as usual, and side by side with I think that's Ocon. Around the outside of Ocon, nicely textbook move there. Turn to the inside next corner, up to P10, so into the points here, but not done yet because Norris has been getting involved with Alonso, and we're going to go around the outside of Norris, but Alonso just braked in the middle of that corner on the exit there, so I had to brake. We're going to get down the inside of Norris, give him room on the inside there. No contact between myself there in that corner, but there might have been a little bit of contact there, I don't know, but through the chicane there was no contact between myself and Norris, and then might have been a little bit of contact as he tried to come back at me with the aggressive AI nature on this year's game, and unfortunately he is going to come in with a front wing failure. So we're watching that's a lock up for Perez, and Russell is through. Red Bull not having a great job as the tyres are overheating. This is not a new issue. This has been an issue in F1 since F1 2020. Basically, the carcass temperatures at tracks like Hungary and the Netherlands, they just overheat. It's basically, and the AI don't have this problem. So the AI's temperatures are always at optimum degrees for their carcass as well. And we're just losing time. We could have fought Alonso, but there's no chance with that now. We're 2 seconds a lap slower than Alonso. Ocon having a go there, nothing doing for him there as well. And that's going to allow Ricciardo to have a look down the inside of Ocon as well, though Ocon they're going to go side by side through, and Ricciardo is going to sweep through and get the position on Alonso and on Ocon, excuse me. A lovely little move by a McLaren driver as he moves up to P10. We're going to come in the end of that lap to try and take advantage, although Ocon is going to continue on. So yes, a little bit frustrating that the first stint should be better on the mediums because of the tyre temperatures that don't get so high on the mediums compared to the soft tyre, but there's not a lot I can do with that other than turn the carcass temperatures off, which we'll come back to that at the end of the episode. Unfortunately, we're now going to go to the other extreme. Coming out the pits, and again, guess what? The AI have absolutely perfectly up to heat tyre temperatures. I do not. Mine are now we've gone from having overheating tyres to igloos. Now they do actually warm up in the end. It takes half a lap for the mediums to warm up. That half a lap is costly. You can see, we've almost lost out to Norris there, actually trying to make a move on me. Actually, not as you know, he's recovering from his earlier pit stop. Going up the inside between myself and Magnussen there. Magnussen's coming out on the hard tyres. Fortunately, the hard tyre is simulated in terms of grip on this year's game. So, you know, if they are on the hard tyre, they're just going to fall behind. 2 Ferraris out in front. Hamilton, I think, still in P3 as well there. As well as Norris has another go around the outside. We're just able to defend the inside here. Again, Hungary is Monaco without the barriers. It's you know, it's such a, it is actually, you can make overtakes here. You just got to mostly through the first sector, because there's the second and the third sector are pretty much non-existent for overtakes, or there is a chance in the third sector. Norris, you know, with the AI traction, and you know, he's come again with DRS. This time we'll need to go fully around the outside. One of my textbook favourite moves at this corner to get it done. Turns the inside next corner, and that is a lovely move. We're going to have a replay of this. So, you know, Norris gets the traction out of turn 1, down the hill. Then, you know, we're going to keep our foot in fully round the outside. Norris gives us the space, and we have the inside then for the next corner, and we retain what is P10. All this fighting those allow Ocon to escape and run away from us, as well as the tyres, even on the mediums, are starting to cook as well. Which, you know, is again costing us time as well. But the 2 McLarens are going to go side by side down to turn 3, and there's a lock up from Ricciardo, or rather Norris, I think. Whoever was on the inside had a lock up, and I definitely think that one of them's got front wing damage. Is watching Max Verstappen. He's having a look at Lewis Hamilton, and Hamilton has decided has decided to go wide, and that is Verstappen through on Hamilton as well. As we jump back to our PV, Ricciardo this time, as it was Norris who got the damage again. Unlucky for him. He's in the pits. He's been into the pits. We now got Ricciardo Magnussen. You know, again defending hard against Magnussen. His one and only point. Fuel. Where has all the fuel gone? It's just drained out there. We're having to lift off. Got no lean mixture to use, of course, because the hard fuel mode that I run, you know, every other track we haven't had to worry about fuel, but you know, as Magnussen's going to have a go at Ricciardo on his hard tyres. Maybe Ricciardo's tyres have gone off, so they're still going side by side as well, and eventually Ricciardo will enforce the move and keep Magnussen behind as well. But their battling is going to allow us to escape and come home for P10. Look how far Bottas and Ocon are away from me. That is down to tyre temperatures as well. So low fuel mode across the line. Luckily we had just enough to cross the line for a dismal P10. You know, after qualifying P12, you know, to have Bottas a pit stop away, you know, to be that slow, I think it's the tyres, you know, and we will be turning tyre carcasses off. I'll come back to that shortly. But for us, P10, you know, Sainz winning winning another race, excuse me. That's going to put him in front of Verstappen, but neither really able to touch Leclerc. Perez way behind, as is Hamilton and Russell. Alonso drops Bottas with his overtake there for us, still P13 as well. Williams as well, stuck in P8. Really, we're not really going anywhere. So yes, tyre temperature is now just surface only, and the surface only doesn't really affect that much. Compared to the carcass really is big problems for me on this year's game as well. So that's definitely something that, you know, that I haven't worked on. I haven't been able to fix for 3 games now. This is the 3rd game we've had this issue. It was on last year's game. It was on the game before. So nevertheless, our point streak continues, 4 races in a row now. So, you know, we are getting some points, which is good compared to our teammate Albon. Further up the road, you know, Russell finally getting his first podium of the season, and that's going to give him a confidence boost for him. And he'll be hoping that, you know, that Mercedes will look at his performances and he'll try and able to catch Hamilton. Although Hamilton, you know, both of them really need to improve. Mercedes reflecting a little bit of what real life, with not really able to challenge for race wins. Perez, not a race win either, not been on the podium after missing out last week in France, and now that podium streak has also not happened here in Hungary. So he needs to re-perform if he wants to have a contract. Although, you know, the game, you might still have a contract for season 2, depending on you know, if they want a challenger for somebody to support them a bit more against the Ferraris. So yes, that's where I'm going to leave it today's video. If you have enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe channel, and you see plenty more F122 driver career videos as and when they come out. Until the next video, then I'll see you next time. Take care, thanks so much for watching, enjoy your day, and goodbye.